Hi everyone, and welcome back to AFTV Live. Even twisting up my words there. Sorry about that. Hi everyone, and welcome back to AFTV Live. My name is Laurie. I am your host, and on today's show, I'm joined by my good friend, lifelong supporter, and prolific YouTuber, Stricto in the building.
Yes, Laurie, what's going on, bro? I was waiting for another intro, but yeah, you've let me down, man. What's going on?
I can't do those ones every week, man. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Next week,
fair enough.
I'll give you a nice intro next week.
Fair
But
enough. Fair enough.
I called you a lifelong supporter. I said
Yes,
you my
yes,
what do you want,
yes.
bro?
No, it's true. No. All the facts. All the facts. I just like facts. So yeah,
Anyway, how you doing today? How you doing this weekend?
I'm good, Laurie. I'm good. Just getting by. Season feels almost flat. We might as well be on holiday, sort of vibe.
We're gonna talk. We're gonna talk
But
about
we'll get into that. We'll get into that.
that. But I'm glad you're well. Just for the benefit of everybody watching, Stricto already knows what it is. On today's show, we'll be previewing Arsenal's game against Chelsea, a game that I'm calling the Podium derby. We'll also talk briefly about the inclusion of Mars Lewis-Skelly in the latest England squad, as well as the situation with Ben White. I want to get Stricto's views on what the manager said. I'll also ask Stricto about his thoughts on the upcoming Champions League quarter-final tie against Real Madrid, the Galacticos there, and any other things that come to mention. So without any further ado, tomorrow afternoon, man, 1:30 p.m. Emirates, London derby, Arsenal taking on long-time rivals Chelsea. Arsenal currently in second in place, but a long way behind Liverpool. Chelsea homing in on fourth. They're in fourth at the moment. They're actually gone above City. City could only draw today, so they're above City. But they are 6 points behind Arsenal. So there is some jeopardy in this game, because if we do lose, which I don't think we will, but, if we lose, they'll only be 3 points behind. So for me, this is still a big game. Although I'm sensing a little bit of apathy amongst some of the fans. I think it's because the league title challenge has kind of evaporated. And so you're going to get that kind of natural apathy amongst some of the fans. Stricto, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, like I said, bro, it's just whimpering out the season, especially the Premier League season. I actually didn't think Chelsea were that close to us. Actually, it's only 6 points. I thought we were, because in the league I tend to only look at the teams close to us, Liverpool and stuff. But then it makes it sort of a must-win game. Sort of just keep.
You know what they call that, Stricto? You know what they call that? Football fan myopia. You're only looking at football fan myopia.
Oh, okay.
In your own team, you're only looking at your own team, but you got to be careful. You got to look behind you, man, because as we speak right now, Chelsea are 6 points behind Arsenal and played the same amount of games. So we can't afford to run. And they went above City because City could only draw today.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a must win. I mean, every game we have to win. That should always be the forefront of fans, players, coaches, the club. You have to win every game, irrespective of what the season is, turning out to be in terms of the league. So we win that, and keep up the, like I always said, winning is a habit you need to maintain, and so is losing. Losing is also a habit. If once you start losing becomes a habit that you pick up. So we need to win it. I do believe we won't lose, because now we've just crept into that habit of drawing games now, where it's like that's just sort of why they're so close to us, because we've drawn so many games. So I do believe we won't lose as much as I'd like us to win. I said to you the other day about the when we done the Man United preview, I said I don't think we're gonna win this game. If you remember last week, I said everyone was confident that would beat PSV 7-1 or 9-3 on aggregate. Is it 9-3 or 9-2 on aggregate? We should go rock up to United. And listen, we were hanging on. So the confidence has gone a bit from my side, though. I expect us to always want to put on a performance, especially a London derby, and always should strive to win. Now, will that happen with the injuries that we've got? Fair, we've got some players that are coming back slowly with Ben White, Martinelli. But if you look at the whole season as a whole, even when those players were fit, we weren't really firing at our best. So it's hard to even imagine we're gonna fire at our best when they're only just coming back from injury. So the trauma of injury. So, oh man, we just cannot afford to lose that game at all, because then that might even affect our Champions League game. Because once that doubt creeps in, it creeps in everywhere. It creeps in everywhere. Chelsea are similarly going through what we're going through as well. They're not being convincing. I think they've won their last few games, but overall, Cole Palmer's levels have dropped. Nicholas Jackson isn't there as far as I'm sure he's still injured. So they're still going through what we're going through. It's just that we're just in a better position with it at the end of it. So yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Chelsea have only won 3 of their last 6 games. You're right. They're not in the best of form. They did win last week. They struggled a little bit, apparently. I didn't see all the game, but I'm reliably informed that they didn't look good. You're right about Cole Palmer. I think he's not scored now in 9 games. He missed a penalty last week. But you know what it is, Stricto? It's that law of averages, isn't it? Every time we start quoting these stats, what happens? He'll rock up at the Emirates and he'll probably score. You know what I mean? Because he normally does have good games against us. You know what I mean? I remember when he kind of announced himself to the Arsenal fans. That was in the Charity Shield game when he was playing for City, right?
For City, yeah.
He scored a brilliant goal in that game. So we know he's talented. We know he'll be motivated. And so, yeah, I mean, like you said, Chelsea, not in the best of form. And to be honest, man, in recent years, we've done well against Chelsea. I don't think they've beaten us in the Premier League since, August 2021? I think.
Yeah, Lukaku and Reece James, if my mind. Yeah. No, listen, they're tough. It's a London derby, and it's also one. Funny enough, when you look at like Arteta's managerial career at Arsenal, that's one of the things he's managed to turn around, beating Chelsea, because that wasn't a thing we did for a long time, home or away. And he's sort of just, like you said, 2021. I'm pretty sure that was his one of his first 5. Nah, was it? Nah. Maybe I'm twisted. But I certainly remember, like, after we lost to Chelsea in that game, after that we never lost to Chelsea again. He turned it around. He turned it around. So yeah, big on him for doing that. But when they don't harbor trophies, does it really matter? We can talk about finishing above them. We can talk about beating them. But at the end of the day, if it's not harvesting trophies, then it's sort of pointless. I get the context that it means we'll be second, but we'll be second again, guaranteed Champions League football. I mean, the only sort of angle that you can spin to find some sort of joy is that they spent how much? 1.7 billion? No.
Yeah.
1.2, 1.7 billion. And if they don't make the Champions League, that'll be sweet for me. That you can take victory from that, because then in a sort of way, everyone says we've spent 700 and something million and we haven't achieved anything. And Chelsea seems to get a blight, because 1 point something million and they're struggling to basically be in the top 5 right now. So that's the only joy I can take from it.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, last season they finished 6th, but it was a bit of a car crash with the way the club was being run. They changed the manager. What do you make of the manager, Maresco, since he's come in? What do you make of him?
I mean, it's for Chelsea fans to tell you. It looks like, from when I read comments, but I pretty much think it's game by game with Chelsea fans. I read comments where it's like, this guy needs to go. And then they get a couple of victories, or they don't lose, and it's like, give him time and this, that, and the other. And most people say, look, this guy is a championship manager at best. He shouldn't be leading Chelsea into anything. But from my opinion, listen, the money he's been given, then I suppose realistically and unbiasedly, you have to give him time. He took over from Mauricio Pochettino, and he still has that team to deal with. But it looked like when just before Chelsea's season ended last season, they were turning the ship. But Maresca's come in and sort of not carry the same trajectory at times. But listen, all I can say is, with most managers, you can't really judge him just off of one season. You got to give the guy time. He's had the money spent. We don't know whether or not those are his players that have come in, or whether or not it's external factors. I don't know. But ultimately, the guy's only been here 1 season, and they're sort of
I would
doing
say
better than they did last season.
I would say it's a good manager. I'll tell you why, because remember he promoted Leicester last year,
Yeah,
and he did well with them, got them up, took the Chelsea job, and you have to remember when he took the Chelsea job, as I was saying earlier, Chelsea are in a bit of disarray. They finished 6th, but that doesn't tell you the whole story. The club was imploding. There's lots of internal strife going on. He seems to have settled things down. He's got a couple of the players out, including Raheem Sterling. And now here they are challenging for a Champions League place. So, I mean, if you remember earlier on in the season, man, people were saying that they could be challenging. There are a possibility of challenging for the title. But recent results have slipped away. I'm also told, because I've got a couple of friends of mine who are Chelsea fans, that football played is very different also to Pochettino. So he's had to come in and impose a new playing style. And in fact, his playing style is kind of similar to ours, with the controlled possession build up and that type of stuff. So it will actually be interesting to see what tactics he adopts tomorrow. I mean, I did a show on my channel on LL Sports TV with a guy called Tom, big Chelsea fan.
Love the plug there. I had to get the plug in there. There's always a plug with you. Say again. What was the name of the channel? I didn't hear it properly.
LL Sports TV.
There we go.
I know you do. But yeah, so we were talking in depth about the game.
Yeah.
And he was saying that he really likes Maresco. He's saying that the football he plays very controlled. Like he said, he goes, it's a very similar style to Arsenal. But what he was saying was, he said he wants Chelsea tomorrow to tear up the script. Don't use that playbook. He wants Chelsea, to do what Man United, what Forest, what West Ham guys have done recently, which is play the low block, sit deep, and invite Arsenal onto them, because he reckons that if they do that, he reckons that they can catch us on the counter. They have people like Neto and that so forth going forward. He reckons they've got decent midfield as well. He said if we can stop Arsenal playing through us, there's a good opportunity that they could get something. So what do you make of that? Do you think he will change this?
I mean, I don't know what he's going to do, but what I would say, Chelsea don't have the players for that, to play the low block. They're defensively not. This is why they are where they are. They have individual errors. You can start from their goalkeeper. You can start with, the players in front of him. Like they're not very good to play that defensive. Because at the end of the day, the counter attack is only as good as your defense. If your defense can withhold all the pressure, then fair enough. But that's the issues Chelsea have had. Their defense isn't so good, and it doesn't matter who's there. We've seen it consistently all season. Now they might have had some sort of stability, but the stability isn't good enough to play that kind of football. I suppose they need to find a sort of balance to know how to play us. But the issue that, or maybe the thing that might fall well in their lap, is that we're not so penetrative for going forward, and we struggle with teams that play the low block. But those teams that play that are teams that have the defenders who are willing to die in that defense, or who have the goalkeepers who've got the wits about them. And Chelsea at the moment don't have that. And if Chelsea are going to play that sort of football, I think it might be at their detriment, because they're just not defensively sound, and that's what you need to be able to play counter-attack football. And that's the end of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at their goals for and against this season. Their goals for is 53, which is actually a goal more than us. But the goals against is 36, which is significantly higher than ours, which is 24. But interestingly, they've only conceded a goal more than Forest, and now Forest have picked up a reputation for their defending. So if you look at it statistically anyway, they've conceded only 1 goal more than Forest. They've conceded less goals than City and Newcastle and Brighton and Villa. So maybe their defense is not as bad as what a lot of people might imagine, if we look at it statistically anyway.
If you look at then you got, then from that column, then you got to look at losses. How many losses ultimately
7 times so far,
and how many have Forest lost?
7.
Both lost the same amount of games.
Yeah, they both lost. I think what it is, Forest have picked up a few more wins in them. You know what I mean?
There you go. And Forest have picked up a few of the 1-0,
Yeah,
2-0.
To Man City.
Yeah.
Lost games of Newcastle. You know what I mean? And lost less games than Aston Villa. So they are a decent team. I think we should give credit to them for that. Especially, like I said, when you think that Maresco took over, things were all at sea. I mean, when we played Chelsea last year, Stricto, and we smoked them 5-0, I said on a couple of AFTV platforms that Chelsea side that I saw last season was the worst Chelsea side I've seen come to the Emirates. And I wasn't capping when I said that, man. I was being serious. So I think you'll find that, yeah, he has definitely made a difference. But you also made a good point, Stricto, when you said that we've got injuries, but they've got some significant injuries as well. You know what I mean? So,
Nicholas Jackson, I think, is a big miss for them, because not only is he, his work rate he does, pressing and his pace. Because listen, it was only when we played them last season I realized how fast he was, because there was a point where he blew past Saliba and Saliba was giving it all he could to catch up and was nowhere. He was just shifting gears past Saliba. And Chelsea fans will tell you Nicholas Jackson is so important to how Carlton Palmer. This is Carlton Palmer. What's his name? Cole Palmer. Sorry, Carlton Palmer. Two different people, but like Cole Palmer's game, the positive side of his game is heavily reliant on Nicholas Jackson. The balls in behind. The link up play, and maybe a lot of people have said maybe Palmer struggled because of the absence of Jackson. So they do miss on that front, and but we're also missing. We are missing a major cog in our in our mechanics. With Saka. That cannot be understated, the influence he has on us going forward and the influence he has on us doing well in a football match. We know what he does it on a consistent basis, and even him not being there, you could also say, has affected Odegaard's performance of late, because he has that bond with Saka on that right hand side. So it's 50-50, but I do feel like we've been the more consistent out of the two clubs, and the positions don't lie. They're there for a reason. That's why you judge it by the table and not by opinions. The fact is the fact. You can't hide it.
We have to recognize that they did draw with us earlier on in the season.
Yeah, they did. That's what I'm saying.
Although our recent record against them is very good, we do have to show them the proper respect. Like I said, they drew with us earlier this season. Okay, that was at the Bridge. But I remember in that game as well, man, Neto, who will play tomorrow against us, he gave us problems. He scored against us too, actually.
I was there, man. I was there. I can't believe. I don't know about you, yeah. Whenever Arsenal concede a goal, yeah, and I've always been like this from a kid, I can never believe it. Do you ever have that? Whenever we concede a goal, I'm like, I'm in such a shock. Like, it must be offside. Like, I'm finding something.
I know what you mean, man. Sometimes what it is, right? You see the ball, you see the net bulging and the ball going in the net, and there's that slight delay, and you think, "Nah, I didn't just see that."
That's
And then you hear the other fans cheering. You think,
cheering.
See it. Yeah,
that's why. Like, if you ever watch me, like, I never get angry like when we concede, because I'm in so much of a shock to believe what just happened. I remember there used to be I know we're going off a little bit. There used to be a woman at Highbury, and whenever like Arsenal conceded, she would scream. I don't know if you ever caught that. There used to be a woman at Highbury. Please, whoever's in the comments, find a video. Like, whenever Arsenal conceded, you could only hear her scream at Highbury all the time, every game. So I'm in disbelief. But yeah, going back to it, like that game against Chelsea, was a must-win game. We had to win that game to sort of put the pressure on Liverpool at the time and kill off Chelsea. And we scored. Did we score first? Yeah, we scored first, and then 8 minutes later, Neto equalized, and it was, it's
Martinelli scored in that game. Martinelli normally does quite well against Chelsea. Remember that goal he scored at the Bridge when he took the ball from inside our own half.
Oh yeah, from Kante.
Yeah, right.
When Kante slipped.
Yeah. Not seen him score
Hopefully,
in a while, to be honest. But
yeah, he's not. He's not. That's not the same. It's almost like it's a different Martinelli. That Martinelli in goal, 1-on-1, you was sure he would get on target or at least cause the keeper problems. But this Martinelli 1-on-1,
you see them
you don't
things
even get in behind 1-on-1. This Martinelli. That let's be real.
There's a comment here. I'm not sure if he's winding me up. Friends Phoenix. He says Cole Palmer limped out of training today. Have you heard anything to that effect?
No, I haven't seen that.
No, I haven't seen that. Maybe he's talking.
I haven't seen that. That would be headline news.
It would be. I would have thought so.
That's media. That's that media darling there, Cole Palmer.
So you don't think that Maresca will change his tactics then?
I just don't see to what benefit, because he himself knows his defense isn't good. You know, they've got, who's their centre backs? The Tosin Adebor.
They've got Colwell. You know what I mean?
Colwell isn't that good. Chelsea fans don't. They want him out on loan. I think Wesley Fofana just come back.
Yeah, he's a good player. He used to play alongside Saliba, you know.
Yeah. In when they were in France, what's that team again? Yeah. So he knows he's the he just got to just play their football. Do you know what I mean? But if they for 1 second want to be so defensive, they'll get punished. They'll get punished. They'll punish themselves. That's the thing with Chelsea. You know, but I do think there is something that saying that at times I think we do need to sit back and let teams have the ball, because we do have the pace. You know, I think sometimes Arteta could learn from playing your opponent as opposed to always playing our own game all the time. Because in reality, you see Man United
for the previous game, and it was Fofana, Adaribo, Colwell, and Cucurella. So fullback, Fofana was playing at fullback. But is that one of your man then? Is he a nudge or you?
Fofana. Oh yeah, he's one of my boys. He's one of the man them.
Yeah, he's a
yeah. Tosin, he's one of the man them still. So yeah, he's decent. He's from Fulham, innit? He came from Fulham.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, he's not the world's greatest defender, but you know, he does a job. You know, he's quite, you know, he'll give us a problem in aerially in terms of them having set pieces and stuff. You know, he's quite good in the air. You know, so that's another one to worry about. But you know, defensively, he's okay. He's not, like I said, he's not breaking, flipping. You know, he's not Gabriel. You know what I'm saying? He's not Gabriel. So
Cucurella, though, he always kind of gives us a little issue, man. He did well against Saka last time. In fact, I think in that game he got man of the match, didn't he? In that game.
Yeah, he does. But Saka was injured. I remember Saka coming off. But I won't take anything away from Cucurella. I think even I wanted him at Arsenal before he went to Chelsea, because that season he had at Brighton.
Remember he was at Brighton. Thought that we was interested in him.
Yeah, he was the most balanced fullback. You know, he defends well and attacks well. You know, I was hoping we would get him, but he's another one that he came in there, wasn't fans' favorite at first, and he's proved himself now where he's probably one of the first names on the team sheet now. You know, so. But we'll see how it goes. It depends. It depends to who he's facing tomorrow. Nwaneri.
Let's hope so. What about that midfielder, Chelsea's? Fernandes, Caicedo. You know what I mean? Cole Palmer.
I mean, their midfield isn't better than ours, first and foremost. And I don't say that because it's Arsenal, but I do think their midfield hasn't been consistent enough. Was earlier just touched on Cole Palmer, and then Enzo Fernandez. He's a bit 50-50. Great player on his day, and Cole Palmer again, great player on his day. But I think probably Caicedo's probably out of all their midfielders, there's probably the most consistent performer. You know, he's aggressive. He doesn't mind putting in a tackle, and he's also, funny enough, very technical as well. He doesn't look it.
Yeah. You're so right about that. He doesn't look it, but I mean, I've seen him play a few times this season, and he's impressed me. And they're saying that Lavia could be back for Chelsea as well. So,
I mean, that guy will be back and then we'll be back on the flipping medical room. Like that was a waste of money, man. That was a waste of money. That guy, absolutely. But then saying that, he'll come on tomorrow, score 30 yards. You know,
this is it. You know what I mean?
So,
I mean, two teams, I've got to be honest, do match up quite well against each other. But I am intrigued about the tactics because, like I said, I think if Chelsea try and go head-to-head with us, I would agree with you, Stricto, then that gives us an advantage, especially being at home. But if they do drop deep, then you never know. They might. But then, like you said, Stricto, will the manager do that? Because they're not used to doing that. So to do that in a big game against Arsenal.
in a derby as well.
You know what I mean? So maybe not. You know what I mean? Maybe not. So I guess only time.
And if he does that, imagine how the Chelsea fans, Chelsea already a team that already pride themselves on getting rid of managers for sneezing too much. Do you know what I'm saying? So if it's a difficult one for him because Chelsea is one of those clubs where not many have done great. I think the only manager they really hold in high regards is Jose. And I can't remember any other manager that Chelsea fans show love to other than Jose. They had the Matteo that won them their first Champions League. What they do the next following season, they chopped him off. Tuchel won them the champ. They chopped him off. So he's got to be careful. You don't rock up by the Emirates and be playing negative football. The fans will still want to see Chelsea compete and want to see Chelsea. It's a London derby. You have to compete. There's no other way. You're supposedly the biggest club in the capital, even though you're not. You need to win at least 10 Champions League to stand next to Arsenal. Even we've got none. But Chelsea to be bigger than Arsenal, 2 Champions League ain't enough, my friends. Do you know what I'm saying? Because
it's not just about trophies. It's about heritage, history,
it's everything.
There's a
stadium.
In the mix. Stadium, you're right. You know what I mean? So But nevertheless, Chelsea, in recent years, I would regard them as a big club. And listen, they're trying to make their way back into things. And I guess we'll have to see how it goes. But talking about Arsenal, I want to get your views, Stricto, because I've spoken to a lot of fans recently, man, and this title challenge is melted away. And a lot of people are upset about it, to the point where some people are saying that ain't even business if we finish second. So my question to you, Stricto, is how important is second? I mean, are you one of those that as long as Arsenal finish in the top 4, you're good with that because it guarantees you're playing Champions League football? Or are you so disappointed in our recent run of form and results, the fact that the title challenge is over? Are you so disappointed with that you're more focused on the Champions League and you're one of them guys that think, as long as we finish top 4, there's no real difference between second, third, fourth, or even fifth. We get 5 places for the Premier League this season.
I think we have, like I said earlier, the most important thing is we have to keep winning because it's a habit. Sometimes this season, we all admit it's done, but then we have to start preparing for next season now. Right. Now, the work for next season starts now, and you don't want to go into next season having that mentality of, being down and out. We have to carry and pick up on momentum now. So finishing 4th isn't good enough. Finishing second isn't good enough. Let's be honest. I'm not saying that finishing second is good, but at the end of the day, we have to be real. Liverpool are probably going to run away with it. So we have to maintain our own standards, our own consistency into next season. And that only happens by us winning. So there be it. If we're going to be the first, second, if that makes sense, the top of everyone else apart from Liverpool, then so be it. It's not a trophy, but it's something that you can certainly use and take into next season. And certainly, bring in players, when you look at the end of the season, when you want to sign players, you're sort of in a better place to negotiate. You're not going to get taxed heavily by other clubs because you finish 5th and they know you need players, or you finish 6th, they know you need players. So there's that tax. But when you're second, you're better in the negotiations. Likewise, Liverpool being first, they can negotiate easier because they're champions. You're not gonna get the desperation tax of finishing. So it's important that we do finish as high as we can, you know, go for next season. That's how I sort of look at it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, listen, second always looks better than third or fourth. I know that there's no trophy for second, but it's the optics of it, isn't it? What do you make of, I don't know if you heard the interview that William Gallas gave yesterday, former captain and Chelsea captain as well, when he was almost berating like 3 second-place finishes. He was basically saying, look, man, that's not really good enough for a club like Arsenal. What do you make of that?
He's the biggest force.
We know what you mean.
Yeah. Let me tell you something, yeah.
I was at that game at Birmingham when he did that as well. I was there. You know what I mean?
Let me tell you something, yeah. That game, that moment, that incident, as far as I'm concerned, and I said it then and I'll say it now, that started the weak mentality Arsenal had. That day, William Gallas was the mother that birthed that weak mentality that day. As a captain, he should have been stripped of his captaincy. That very moment.
Which was after that?
Huh?
I think it was.
No, he wasn't. Nah.
Didn't he lose the captaincy?
No, to who?
Oh, okay.
To who? Listen.
Yeah, but you know what? Right, I was at that game and I remember walking away from that game, man. On the way back home, that's all people were talking about. The ironic thing about it is that when William Gallas came to Chelsea, that was one of the things that people were saying, listen, man, William Gallas, even though he was already slightly past his best as a player, remember, because he'd done all of his work mainly at Chelsea. So when he came to Arsenal, I remember this clearly, the reason why people were, I wouldn't say excited, but were happy for him to come on board is they were saying, listen, the one thing about him, he's a winner. He knows what it's like to win. So when he did that, you know what I mean? It was like, wow.
He cannot, sorry, Laurie, but out of all the people that could have an opinion on this club, Arsenal, he is the one person. I'm telling you, that weak mentality has, you could even argue it's probably why we are where we are. Because when your captain is on the floor crying, showing the world that when shit goes hard, you lie on the floor and be defeated by it. We never recovered from that. We never recovered from that mentality. And honestly, he's the mother that gave birth to that mentality, as far as I'm concerned, because you're the manager. You're the first manager. As a captain, you're the manager on the pitch. You're the manager on the pitch. He capitulated. Oh man, I remember watching it. I was watching it. I was in uni at the time.
Sorry to interrupt you, Stricto, but I think I'm right because I'm seeing a comment in here. New music. He says captaincy was given to Cesc soon after, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the end out of that, he lost the captaincy. I'm sure of it.
No, he didn't lose it. He didn't lose it. Because who was captain first? Cesc or Gallas?
No.
Because this is how the captaincy went. It went Vieira, Henry, Cesc, and then Gallas, Van Persie.
Oh, right. Well, listen, mate, I didn't argue with it too much, but I seem to remember that he lost the captaincy shortly after that. But anyway, regardless of that, the actual incident was shameful. You know what I mean? I remember at the time I was arguing with people and I was trying to make a case for him, but you couldn't really. It's one of them.
You couldn't. We had the league there to win. I remember that was the game when Eduardo broke his leg, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was
the game Eduardo.
Disaster.
It was a disaster, you know, and we never recovered. We had the chance. Getting over the line at that point, that's where it was born. It was born from that moment, getting over the line. When you look at Arsenal, you think, okay, this is a game Arsenal can win. This is a game Arsenal have to win. And we've seen that mentality over the years. We saw it with Aston Villa last season. We saw it with Fulham. Like, there's games when we have to win. There's games that we should win. Literally, every time we don't, it definitely reminds me of that game at St. Andrews. 100%. That was where it was born. And those of you who are old enough to remember, like, won't some Arsenal fans won't know it like that, like the, you know, the importance of that game. But that game, we had won that game, we go clear.
Yeah, yeah.
I still remember it. I still remember it. That was the first bottle job. That was the first bottle job, and we've not recovered since.
Yeah, I remember that well. But anyway, so you're saying you're not going to give him no credence because of what he said?
No, not at all. He's the last person to talk about it. He's the last person to have an opinion on Arsenal. I mean, we swapped this guy for arguably one of the best left backs in the Premier League era. And then he comes to Arsenal, he takes Dennis Bergkamp's iconic number 10 shirt as a defender. Oh man.
I can remember when he signed for Arsenal. I remember the fans, they used to have this song saying, "William Gallas is our mate, he helps Chelsea." Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Gallas is our mate. Remember that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember that.
Birmingham, that song got deleted. You know
Deleted. And then listen, everyone can have an opinion. You know, I get it. You know, everyone can say, you know, how they see the game and how the game is and whatever. Especially he's been an Arsenal captain, and for him to basically Senderos could talk before Gallas could even open his mouth. I'll give more respect to Senderos saying something than Gallas, because William Gallas, if William Gallas was playing now for us, we would bottle every single aspect of anything good with the game. Honestly, I'm not taking his opinion serious at all. And I'm not saying he's wrong.
In 2008, that was as well.
And I'm not saying he's wrong. Let me even clarify. I'm not saying he's wrong. But I'm saying I'm not hearing it from him.
He went a little further than that. Not only did he say that the second places were not good enough, he said that he doesn't think that Arteta is the man to get it done at Arsenal.
Who is? This is the question. Who is the man?
No, but do you agree with him in his assertion that Arteta is not that guy? So basically what he's saying that Arteta is, I guess you could say and I'm paraphrasing, he's saying that Arteta is a transitional manager. He's saying that Arteta's done good, because I heard the interview yesterday. He said that Arteta's done very well in taking the club from where it was when he took over in 2019 or wherever it was, to now a couple of second place finishes. But he's saying that this season is showing Gallas that he's not that guy if Arsenal want to go on to win major honours. What do you say to that?
Realistically, only time will tell. And I know a lot of the fan base feel the same. A lot of the fan base will agree. I personally don't 100% agree. I think next season is Arteta's sort of.
That's the holy grail, Tom.
That's the whole make it. You have to make it. There's no two. You know, even as I am sort of loyal to his position right now, that will definitely change next season if he doesn't bring a trophy. And by trophy, I make this clear. I'm not talking about an FA Cup. I'm not talking about a League Cup. I want the major honours. Seeing that we've come so close to it, you know, seeing that we literally have one hurdle to go over to get to it. So if he's not producing that, then for sure, 100%, I think I'll be a fully paid up member of the Arteta out club, you know. But this season, I sort of can understand we've had the injuries and, you know, we've had the red cards and all of that. They're part of football. But then, you know, if you look at it whole, we are still second, even with these injuries.
Yeah.
With these injuries, we are still second. So, you know, there's some sort. You gotta sort of give him some credit there. I know that it's not the ultimate credit, because we want to win stuff. I want at this point now, Laurie. At this point now, he has to deliver the Champions League.
Well, we're going to talk about that. So you've digressed nicely onto what I wanted to talk to you. That was one of the things I wanted to talk
I linked it nicely. I could tell you was
No, you've segued nicely onto the next one of the topics I wanted to talk to you about. So, right, Real Madrid, first leg on the 8th of April, second leg a week later. Stricto, I want you to be honest with me now. Well, you're always honest, anyway. That's one of the reasons why I love talking to you. You're always honest. You're always straightforward. I'm going to put it to you now. Arsenal versus Real Madrid. Do we have a chance of beating?
Of course. I saw something on Reset the other day. If there's no chance, then if you don't believe you can beat them, then don't bother turning up. And, you know, and I suppose even for us as a fan base, although some of us have resigned to the fact that we would beat Real Madrid, or we would lose to Real Madrid or whatever. But one thing with Arsenal that I know that is true, as well as the red that we wear, yeah, is when it is time for the unexpected, we achieve the unexpected all the time. Whether that's positively or negatively, we will achieve the unexpected all the time. So whether it's, like I mentioned earlier, beating Fulham, the unexpected happens, we lost to Fulham. Whether it's, okay, losing to Real Madrid, the unexpected will happen. We'll end up beating Real Madrid. You know, but what I think, what I need from Arteta, you know, what I believe the stance we should take in this game is play to our strengths. Our strengths, what is our strengths? Defensively, we are very strong defensively. We've got a midfielder in Declan Rice, who's probably one of the most athletic in his position. His challenges are always on point. Barely ever misses a challenge, you know. So what I'm saying is, Arteta, at this point, this is where you earn all that money you earn. You're the second highest manager. We are in a crisis where we don't have any of our strength there. So you have to play to our strengths. Earlier you mentioned Chelsea having to sort of play low. Let's play that. Let's play the low block. I said to you,
Arteta will do that.
He
Have you ever seen him do that though?
He did it against City, albeit because the circumstances were different with 10 men. With 10 men. But at some point, you have to be dynamic. You have to have 1,000 ways to skin a cat. You have to have a different way to play. We have to go to Real Madrid. Yeah, depending on what we do at home. Even at home, I would even say that. Even at home, I would even say, or maybe even be hybrid of it. Play the two ways, combine the two ways. Maybe do it in blocks of 15, where you sit, you can't let them have it for 15, try and hit them, and hit them, and hit them. You know, but we cannot try to impose our way with a team that are the best Champions League team, that seem to always find a way to win, even when they're not at their best.
Yeah.
Atletico had them up. Bullies had them up by the collar, and they still lost.
No, they won the game. Obviously, they lost the tie on penalty.
They lost the tie.
Yeah, they did. They did win that game 1-0.
They know how. One thing with Real Madrid is they know how to win games. They don't have to be at their best, and certainly in the Champions League. So I think we have to concede pride and say, look, you're better in this competition. You're the best team that's ever registered in this competition. Let's sit back and let's not respect them. Let's not respect them.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and there is a lot of validity to what you say. I've heard other people say that as well. But my thing is, right, the first leg is at Arsenal, yeah? Do you really think that in the first leg, Mikel Arteta is going to play 2 banks of 4 and say to Madrid? Because if that goes wrong, right, hell will be unleashed on it, because a lot of people are right. So let me ask you this: do you think that Arsenal have to win the first leg at the Emirates to stand any chance, or are you one of those that think as long as we don't concede and we've got something to play for in the second leg, we'll be all right? Or because I spoke to Curtis, shout out to Curtis. I spoke to him this morning, Friday, and he was saying that in his opinion, because we spoke about similar things about style of play, he said, Laurie, if we're going to go through, we have to win that first leg. So if we're going to win that first leg, the onus will be on us to score. We might have to score more than one. You know what I mean? So Do you think we can do that by deploying
I mean, here's the thing. The whole thing we've struggled with over the years is the away goals rule. You know, that's always been our struggle. I mean, as most people struggle, but that away goals rule isn't there anymore. You know, it's what you do on the night, I suppose. But I honestly think, and I think I agree with Curtis, we have to maybe not lose. I'll probably say realistically, because I think we can go there and sort of employ the same tactics of, you know, being negative anti-football and maybe hope for, you know, something to fall in our way, maybe, you know, our set pieces, maybe a break because we've got the pace, you know. So for me, it's just using what we've got to our strengths. But we just don't have to lose. We don't have to, because what could happen is we got, you know, they come to us the first game and, you know, we're playing our fluent and boom, get caught on a hop. And they're also good at sitting back as well. And then now we're stuck with not being as penetrative as we've been all season and now have to break down Real Madrid. We fucking couldn't break down Newcastle at home or away. Now we have to break down arguably one of the best clubs, best team in the world. You know, so it's important we don't lose. I think that's probably where I think the key is, because they can still turn it over. But I think most important thing is our mentality going into that game. You know, don't try to do back and forth with Real Madrid. It's not going to work. They've got way too many talented players. They've got way too many world-class players. They've got way too many wily players. You know, you just don't give them a chance. But allow them to play allow them to play football, and let's play to our strength defensively and catch them on a hop and then play that again. You know, they will struggle if that's the case. You know, we saw what they've done to City. City tried to play the free-flowing football. They stung them. They stung them. So listen, you just got to put your pride aside.
Conundrum there, I do think, because I can't see Arteta using those tactics in the first leg. Maybe the second leg, when we've got something to defend, then I could see him doing that. But honestly, I cannot see him using a low block in the first leg at home. And I also, there's some jeopardy in doing that, because if you do that and you still lose, all hell's going to break loose. Man's going to say, "Oh, you bottled it. You didn't even try and win the game." You know what I mean? So there is that.
But there's that worry's there all the time. Even let's say we play them out of the park and we don't win, people are still gonna say, and you still didn't win. Do you know what I'm saying? But I just want to see Arteta show and earn every penny of his contract. You have to give and respect teams that are, you know, like for example, like I will always have respect for you because you're my brother, you're older than me, you've been around longer than me, you know, so I'll always value your opinion. I will never sit and think, you know what, I've lived more of a life than Laurie. I can't have that attitude. You've been around longer than I've been around. So the same principle has to count. Real Madrid have been around in this is their trademark. Forget calling it Champions League. You could almost call it the Real Madrid League. Like it's like the Kenyan race. The long distance is Kenyans that win that. You gotta respect it. You can't come from Bulgaria all of a sudden not respecting these Kenyans in the long distance running. You've just got to respect Real Madrid. This is what they do, you know. So for me, I don't care. I would rather us be negative and lose than to be positive and lose, because I feel like you've shown a different way to play. You know, because
I hear you. It's just that I'm not so sure about. But I did, for my sins, I did a show the other day and I drew up a little game plan that I think is needed to be.
Let's hear this.
I don't know what you think about this, right? So these are the ways I think Arsenal can beat Madrid. It's just headings, but one, we got to defend for our lives. You know what I mean? And like you said, the defense is probably the strongest part of Arsenal's team at the moment. Two, we got to win that midfield battle. Got to press the likes of Camavinga, use Declan Rice's physicality, and hopefully Martin Odegaard will be in this creative element to help us win that midfield. That's going to be crucial. We've got to neutralise the likes of Mbappe, Vinicius Junior, and Rodrigo. Now that is going to be very, very difficult to do, but we've got to double up on Vinicius Junior. If Saka's back in that game, which we're hoping that he will be, he's going to have to. His role will be crucial, tracking back, making runs, helping out the defense. That's got to be on both sides as well. Keep a compact defensive shape. I think we can exploit Madrid's fullbacks if our wingers are on point. Wanyeri, Martinelli, Saka, if it's any of them man there. I do think that, I wouldn't say it's a weak point of Real Madrid's team, but I do think that is an area that can be exploited. You know what I mean? 4, and this is obvious, we got to be clinical in front of goal. Now, listen, in any football game, you are going to create chances. Arsenal always create chances. But we have to take them because you might only get 2 or 3 meaningful chances, you know what I mean? So you've got to be on point there. And then the 5th one is this, the mentality. You alluded to it earlier, Stricker. The mentality's got to be strong. And if they can do that over 2 legs, they do have a chance because we have some quality players. And like I said, any given day, any top team can beat another top team. Like I said, you know what I mean? So
I 100% agree with that. You know, I think on the top of that is mentality. You know, you know what I had to do the other day? I was like, so when obviously Real Madrid qualified, straight away I sort of started looking at their players. I was like, shit, Vinicius, shit, Bellingham, shit, Rudiger, shit. But then I'm like, nah. Bellingham was at Birmingham. Rudiger was at Chelsea. So was the goalkeeper. I had to sort of on Real Madrid them in my head. I had to take away that Real Madrid respect. I'm like, who was they got? Rodrigo was somewhere in the divisions of Brazil. You know, I've had to take away that Real Madrid element. I'm like, we can't do it.
No, I hear what you're saying. You kind of have to emasculate them and don't look at them as these.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You know that. You know when you chop off a dog's nuts, you gotta sort of take away that thing away from them a little bit. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's what I had to do in my mind because I'm like, this is one of the greatest teams they have. I was watching the Bellingham documentary where he spoke about there's a spirit he noticed when he got to Real Madrid, and the spirit wasn't about the players around him currently, but every time they got on the pitch, he felt like the spirit of the past players and was around them all the time, all the successful players. The aura. Yeah. You know, and what I don't want is for us, by any imagination, show any Real Madrid player, no matter how world-class good they are, to show them any respect, to make them believe they are better than what they are. Because like Henry said, if you don't believe you're on par with these guys, because there's a reason why we're playing Real Madrid, and there's a reason Real Madrid are playing us, is because we are beat the oppositions in front of us to get to where we are. So we are on par. Regardless of their history, we are on par. There's no point turning up there thinking, oh shit, that's Vinicius. Oh shit, that's Rodrigo. Oh shit, that's Bellingham. You have to remove that.
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. I hear you. You do have to kind of emasculate them.
It's that mentality will get you further. I saw Kyle Walker doing it with Vinicius when they played. He was faster than Vinicius. He was stronger than Vinicius. He was everything you needed to make Vinicius forget who he was. And that's what we need.
Mentality and approach is so crucial, you know what I mean? Because you have to believe that you can beat these guys. And they've got, you know what I mean, they've got big name players. You mentioned in Bellingham. My man will be doing that. And
I don't want to see when is it? Next, I don't want to see this.
You don't want to see it.
I don't want to see it.
Vinicius, who likes to wind people up, you know what I mean? He'll be in people's ears, he'll be showing off, and you know what I mean? They got right throughout that team, man. They got big name Mbappe. We haven't even spoken about Mbappe, and look at apparently, I think today he's broken a record for Madrid. He's gone past 30 goals quicker than any striker in recent times. So he's remember when he first went to Madrid, he struggled a little bit, but now he's banging them in for fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's what you get, the aura. When you sign from, when you're at a club like Real Madrid, it pushes you. I mean, look at Dani Ceballos, for example. You know, came to Arsenal, did all right, went to Madrid, boom. You know, the aura's taking him that extra level up. And then they brought in that guy from Newcastle. I can't remember his name. Yosselu.
Oh yeah,
Yosselu.
yeah.
Aura, boom. Adding 10, the aura is just an assist, adding 10 goals to 10, 20 goals to his. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's that bit that comes with.
Do you remember Odegaard was at Real Madrid? Didn't quite.
Yeah, he was there young.
Yeah, so he might be able to tell some of them, man, about the aura these plays. But yeah, listen, man, I can't wait for that game. I do think that there is a way. I mean, obviously, we're not favourites. I'm not going to pretend that we're the favourites for that game. But I do think there is a way in which they can win. And I was heartened by the way I saw Atletico show. I mean, Atletico know them inside out anyway.
Of course.
You know, same city was a derby match, so they know them inside
out. And they've got a manager who plays that way anyway, naturally. You know. So, but then let me ask you this, Laurie. You mentioned Saka earlier, you know, and you mentioned, you know, Saka might be back in that game. And listen, his work will be going up and down that line. Would you risk bringing him back? Because that work he's going to be doing will be a lot to ask for someone who's been out since the tail end of last year, to be attacking and to be defending. Would you risk having him back?
Obviously, the medical team are going to play a crucial part in this, because if you ask the player, he's going to say, yes, I want to play. You know what I mean? I know he's going to. If they say to Saka, oh, do you think you can play? He's going to say, yeah, man. Yeah. Because A, he's a young, confident guy. And B, everyone wants to play in that game. So it's almost like you almost have to take the decision out of his hands a little bit and involve the medical team and monitor him closely in the days leading up to the game and see, look, and then have an honest conversation with the manager and say, look, maybe it could be a thing whereby you start him and he gets 35, 40, 50, 60 minutes, whatever it is, or he comes on later on in the game. I'm not sure. But certainly if a fit Saka is playing, that gives us a much needed boost and a much better chance of winning. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I hope I haven't skirted around that answer, but yeah. It's
so your answer basically is it depends what the medical team is saying.
Yeah, I would say.
But I'm saying, but would you, Laurie, like, would you bring him back for that game?
Yes, I would. Like, he's yeah, I would. Yeah.
So if he's fit and ready, you're willing to give him that workload.
Yeah, I mean, because it's such a big game. I mean, the season almost depends upon it, really. And you know, these chances might not come around all the time. You know what I mean? So you have to try and make the most of it. But like I said, that has to be a decision made between the player, the manager, and the medical staff. And if I'm the manager, I'll probably have the medical staff make the last word. You know what I mean?
I mean, for me, if we bring Saka back this season, it has to be for those 2 games.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest. And it sounds crazy because, you know, but for me, if Saka is playing this season, 2 games, that first leg, that second leg, irrespective of, okay, if we progress, then maybe you can extend it. But as far as I'm concerned, it has to only be Champions League. Let him rest off it.
Be the priority. I mean, this is it. You don't want to rush him back, especially with hamstrings, because you know what I mean, that injury goes again, and it could be career threatening sorts of things. So. But exactly. Listen, we're running out of time, man. I mean, you know, I could talk to you all night, but we're running out of time. There was a couple other things I wanted to ask you. One of which was, you saw the England squad announcement. I know you're a proud Niger man, so obviously you know.
I'm glad you added that.
No, we know that, but you know, Arsenal had a couple of players in the England squad this week. Obviously, Declan Rice, he's a regular England player now, but Miles Lewis-Skelly got the call up. What was your thoughts on that?
I mean, big him up every time. Listen, I feel a bit bad for Nwaneri because I feel like Nwaneri's call up was dependent. If you remember our last conversation before the United game, I said his call up would be based on his performance against United. Now, if you'd have had a blinding performance or even a okay. Because I didn't think he had a good performance at all. I think
to be fair to Dallo did well against him.
Dallo did well against him. I think Dallo handled him pretty well. And I think Nwaneri, if he'd have had a decent performance in that game, I think he would have been definitely would have been in that squad. But for Miles Lewis-Skelly, it's even a greater deal because the start of the season, he was nowhere in the frame.
No, he's not even
of the Arsenal team.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Everyone spoke about Nwaneri. Nwaneri was the next up. But Skelly has gone from rival fans know about Nwaneri, but no one actually knew about Skelly. So for Skelly to come literally from out of nowhere, and let's even have it right. That's not even his position. He's not even a fullback.
That's right. He's a midfielder.
He's a midfielder to come in to take to that position, to show his versatility, to show his mentality, to show his attitude, to now being called up to the England squad. He's literally missed levels and just boom straight into it. And I know. I heard Tuchel saying it was a toss up, but in the end they decided, you know what, we have to bring him in, and that just goes to his mentality this season.
It was solid. The fact that England kind of lacked a lot of cover on that left hand side, so that did help his call up. But like you said, Stricto, it's a meteoric rise because, like I said, he's 18 years old, just turned 18. He's only made 13 Premier League appearances. It seems like more, but 13 Premier League appearances, 6 in the Champions League, and now he's got called up. And then with everything else that's gone on with the Man City game, the celebration, the sending offs, he's had a real tumultuous first season in the Premier League, man. But big up, man. Fully deserved, and I'm really proud of him, man. With Nwaneri, I'm a bit disappointed for him because to me, my thoughts on Nwaneri. I've said it many times on different forums. To me, Ethan Nwaneri is the most exciting English footballer currently in the Premier League. Well, Britain, full stop. He's the most exciting player. So I would have loved to have seen him get the call up. And no disrespects, man. At the end of the day, those 2 games are against Albania and Latvia. Now, you're not telling me that he's not playing against better teams than that week in, week out. So he could have handled that. I think the age probably went against him a little bit. Maybe the Man United team, maybe as well. But they've also got a lot of cover on that right-hand side. Rashford is back. They got Foden and them, man. Even though Foden's not doing nothing at the moment. So, but his time will come. His
time will come. But I think Tuchel he's missed. And I'm not just saying it because the Arsenal player. Because me personally, the less Arsenal players play international, the better for me. Because I'm affiliated with Arsenal and Arsenal only. And so, when people are saying, oh, Saka, I don't want Saka to play. I mean, without saying I wanted to play for that, but I'd rather your career be just an Arsenal player, but I get it. You get that international recognition, your status and all of that. But Nwaneri, I think Tuchel missed out a chance to announce a player that he could even boast was his player. He could.
Well, I'll comment up here now. I want to hear what you think about it. I want to hear what you think. Watch this comment.
Who's that? Yes, good menu. Yes.
That's not going to happen, though, is it?
Nah, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But you never know. We saw it with we saw it with Zaha. We saw it with Victor Moses. These guys played for England. They played for England. And then went back.
Actually, he comes from near where I live. He went to school not too far from where I live in Enfield. So
Nwaneri?
Yeah, there's no way he's playing for no Niger, man.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
I think that idea is dead in the water. But you can try. But I think the Nigerian FA have to fix a lot of things before they start thinking they can nick players from anybody. Do you know what I mean? They need to fix the organization, the structure. A lot of things it's not just playing the football for Nigeria. Do you know what I'm saying?
It's about played for England at under 16, under 16 and all that stuff, under 18s. So yeah, he's exactly. Just quickly while we're on the England thing, Ben White, he was left out. Now, you know the story of Ben White. He fell out with the previous regime, Southgate and then Manley. But he did say, or he let it be known, that he would be prepared to play for England under a new management team. He didn't make the cut this time. Well, what do you think about the Ben White thing? And did you hear the comments that Mikel Arteta said as well?
Now, what did Arteta say?
Mikel Arteta basically backed Ben White and said what he did was brave, and that you know, he's backing him. He's backed his stance, which I didn't really quite know what to make of that comment, to be honest, because I don't know. What do you think? I mean, was it brave for him to not declare himself for England because he fell out with the management team, or not?
England's right back. Who are England's right back? Reece James,
Trent. We've got Reece
Trent.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening with Walker.
I think firing Ben White would probably get in that team.
I think he would, especially Ben White from last season. I think it's reassuring for him.
Defensive work is not his best part of his game, so you know.
I think for him,
he's just come back from injury. So
he's just come back from injury. Even like the games I've seen him play, he hasn't looked like the Ben White, which is understandable. You know, you can't expect him to carry the workload he was carrying on with before he got injured. It's gonna take him a while to probably get in that England fold, but he's made it clear himself. I don't think he's that bothered about representing or playing international, because the thing is, most players will substitute their stance to get to play international. But Ben White hasn't. You know, he's still standing on business, as they say. You know, he felt something happen and he said, you know what, I don't care. I don't want to play. I don't want to play. But I think at this moment, it's not a case of him having a choice as much as it's in the hands of Tuchel. And he said he's not, you know, he's not at the level yet. Basically, that's what he was saying. And I agree with him. He's not at the level yet. And I'm sure even Ben White would agree he's not at the level yet. You know, he hasn't really played a full 90 minutes for us, has he?
No.
Did he play? He didn't play 90 minutes against PSV, did he?
No.
So, yeah, it would be a lot of to ask of him to sort of come into that fold. And secondly, how will the other players receive him? You know, will they sort of give him that traitor, you're a traitor to your country? You know, why are you here? I mean, that's another part. You know, some people take the international thing that serious to sort of give him that bombastic side eye. Who's this brother again? Do you know what I mean? So
I hear your thoughts on it, but anyway, Stricto, man, we've come to the end of the show now. First of all, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate having you on with your comments and your knowledge. It's a real pleasure to have you on. Appreciate that. Thanks to everybody out there watching. The submitted chats, really appreciate that. Comments, really appreciate it. And
Laurie, quickly, let me before you go, let me plug my channel quickly. Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah.
People, Stricto Strict on YouTube. Head over there, hit the subscribe button. There's content coming all the time, so yeah, I'd appreciate your subscription.
Yeah, love for that, man. Great content coming out of Stricto Strict. I'm you know, I'll follow you from time, man. You know.
Yes.
But listen, thanks so much to you. Thanks so much to everybody watching and supporting. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to check out AFTV tomorrow for the Chelsea game. We've got the Starting 11 show that comes out an hour and a half before the game. We've also got a live watch along for the game. And yeah, man, should be good fun. Take care. Have a nice weekend, and we'll see you guys soon. We're out.
Peace.